JayNJay show, Power 109. You know, we've been talking about this Bill Cosby thing for a while now, and so is everybody else. And JayNJay had finally decided, you know what, man, fuck the bullshit. Nobody knows what really happened, so we decided to get to the bottom of things, whereas the rest of the media can't seem to do it. They're speculating, they're guessing, and they're interviewing people. Sometimes the people don't sound half fucking credible at all. Well, we have a caller who told us off the air that she actually knows a woman who was almost a victim. And she was a very, very good friend of hers. And this is not a public victim that came out to get some book deal or anything like that. She hasn't even told anybody. But this story has been told to her since it happened, I think 2000 or 2001. I'm not sure. So it's way before all this shit has come out. And she still hasn't said anything. But this girl says that she knows the whole deal. So I'm going to go ahead and put her live on the air right now. Shauna, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. What's going on? What happened with your friend?
Well, going back to, the whole story about Bill Cosby, there's a lot of people coming in on both sides of things, people saying, oh, they just want to ruin his legacy. I have a completely different perspective on this. Back in about 2000, I had a girlfriend that lived in my apartment complex building, and we were very, very good friends. And, in random conversation, we were talking about, what were our favorite TV shows growing up, and, of course, one of mine was The Cosby Show, followed by A Different World. And it was like Thursday night that was family night in my house. We always sat down and watched The Cosby Show. And she got really, really upset, and she started talking about what a scumbag Bill Cosby was. And, again, like I said, this is back in, 2000. This woman had worked in the modeling industry. She is still currently a fitness model to this day for different sports, energy drinks, that kind of thing. She was trying to break into acting at the time. She had done some pageant work, and she came across Bill Cosby. She was supposed to be an extra on his show. And, he kind of took her under his wing, and, she was very young at the time, very early 20s at the time. And this happened to her, I want to say, probably in the early to mid-90s, and she related this to me, again, like I said, in the 2000s. And, basically it was almost the same story verbatim that is coming out with all these different women now. The difference being, my friend never went, she never tried to sue him. She never went to the media, nothing like that. He basically took her back to his house a couple times, or, to a hotel room a couple times, different conferences and things that they had attended together. He paid for her to go to an actor's workshop. And after that workshop, she ended up back in his apartment, and he tried to give her a drink. And she would not drink. She's a very devout Christian. She wouldn't drink. He got very, very vehement with her, He forcibly forced her down the stairs and out the door, basically threw her in a cab and told her she would never work in the industry again. That was originally why she didn't come forward, and it turned out to be true. She never was able to land, an acting job for years. She basically got stuck in the modeling industry, which was not what she wanted to do. She also had another friend who she was working very close with at the time that ignored her when she told him, be careful around this guy. You know what I mean? He's a predator. He's going to try and hurt you. And the girlfriend was like, it's Bill Cosby. Are you kidding? He would never. He's the clean pot man. And so the girlfriend ended up actually taking the drink and saying that she was sexually assaulted after the fact. And again, my friend has no stake in this. She's not one of the women that came forward. She's not getting any money from this. And she's been saying the same thing. Like I said, she told me this probably end of 2000, and it's been 14 years, and my heart was broken. When I heard it back then, I couldn't believe it, but she's a credible woman. She has nothing to gain from it. Why would she say something, and now all these years later, there are women coming out with the same identical story? I think it's heartbreaking that this is the case with him, that, all of these things are coming to light. I definitely feel like there is credibility. I mean, of course, in every situation like this, you're going to have some women that are just jumping on the bandwagon. I don't doubt that, hoping to get something out of it. But when you've got women now, there are some women, one was an attorney, one is a supermodel, Beverly Johnson. They stand nothing to gain from speaking out. And I think it's awful. I think the people that we put on these pedestals and, actors, comedians, sports figures. We put them on these pedestals and we forget some of them have problems like everybody else. People with problems.
Your friend, in that situation in particular, could it have been that Cosby was just upset that he had been so nice to her and paid for her acting workshop and, you know, he offered her a drink and maybe he felt like, oh, you're too good to drink my drink, so get out. I mean, could it have been that simple?
I imagine that probably could be the case, but, you know, you're talking about Cosby, who was a multi-billionaire at that time. Paying for what his workshop is not something that would have hurt him, first of all. Second of all, the way that he forcibly, I mean, she literally said he pretty much dragged her out of his apartment and threw her in a cab, you know, and
did he ask her 2 or 3 times to leave and she just sat there?
I think that's an extreme reaction to a woman not wanting to take a drink from you, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it was about the money at all.
I think that she, you know, was a devout Christian and drinking was not part of her lifestyle. So it was just something that he should have expected when she came in.
I agree. But maybe it was about the principle. But, you know, whether he's a billionaire or a millionaire, whatever the case is, he may have felt like paying for an acting workshop was, you know, that's my generosity. The least you could do is drink my drink. And then, you know, as far as forcibly grabbing her, that's assault. That's what it sounds like to me. So even if it wasn't sexual in nature, she could still file charges at that time, having been, what it sounded like you described was being snatched up, dragged down some stairs, shoved in a car. I would imagine there was some bruising or something to that effect, where she could have went to the police and said,
she didn't say anything about any physical damage being done or, you know, physical harm like bruises or anything. That was never part of the story that she gave to me. She just said, you know, that his behavior was very, it was strange. You know, like he was so adamant that she drink this drink. And she was just like, are you serious? Like, you know I don't drink. And they had hung out on several occasions, you know.
What was the drink?
This was not news to him.
But
she never said, you know, she never stated that he hurt her, you know, as far as like bruising or, you know, anything like that. She never said that. But she did state very clearly that after she had warned her friend, you know, she left the situation feeling violated, but not feeling like, you know, she didn't think his intention was to rape her or something like that. She didn't know why he wanted her to take that drink. But her spidey sense went off and she listened to it. You know what I mean? Now, after she warned her friend, like, listen, he got really aggressive with me, you know, and he completely blacklisted me after the fact, and, you know, he doesn't return my calls or anything like that, and, you know, the situation has gotten very bad now. You should be very careful, and don't take anything that he offers you to drink. And the friend completely ignored her and did end up being sexually assaulted by him. So,
did the friend file charges?
Again,
Did the friend file charges?
I don't know. Again, that was another part of the conversation that we did not cover. I did not meet her friend personally. I don't know who that person is. But, you know, like I said, she was saying this back in 2000. This is long before any of these rumors had surfaced. So
while I don't discount anything that she says, it to me this sounds like Cosby was a fucking asshole. And that's about it. And I think with a lot of these chicks, he was a complete and total asshole. I think he blacklisted a lot of these chicks.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, he's a superstar, you know. A lot of those guys have their heads up their asses because nothing is denied to them. However, in light of all the other allegations coming forward, I thank God that my friend didn't end up in a worse situation than what she was in, because that's still pretty bad. You know, here you've got one of your icons, you know, she really looked up to him. He was mentoring her. You know, if he even put her in that situation at all, she felt violated, but imagine how much worse it could have been.
So what was the drink? Because if I'm sitting there with my icon, he's like, hey, man, drink this. It's a possibility that I would drink.
She said it was like a mixed drink. You know, she asked him if there was alcohol in it. He said, yeah, you know, there's a little alcohol in it, whatever. And she said, you know, I don't drink. And she said she could smell the alcohol in it. You know, that was the main reason why she turned it down, was because it was like, he said there's a little alcohol, and there was like a lot of alcohol, which I assume was probably to mask whatever, you know, the taste of whatever was in it, I imagine. That's just me speculating, but, yeah. I don't know. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, man, you know?
It's a motherfucking duck, is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, I'm not saying that every single woman that is coming forward at this point is credible. I'm not saying that. But I think that there is definitely basis for inappropriate behavior with him towards women his whole entire career, you know?
It's definitely possible.
That's possible, too.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I don't know that the story was different.
As far as like, did he do it? Did he not? And we kind of, I thought he was doing something, and then, a lot of these women, they don't sound credible. It's like, okay, so is this some bullshit? But then I said to myself, okay, wait a minute. I know that 30 bitches didn't just decide to get together one day and say, whose life can we ruin, and fucking choose Bill Cosby. I didn't believe that either.
Right, and especially with him being so old at this point, like, it's almost pointless, except that if you're a woman that's ever been in any kind of situation like that, where you've been violated in any way like that, that's something that doesn't necessarily heal with time, especially if you've seen this person continue to grow and continue to be successful, and it's just like, and you know that he's not a person that's deserving of the adoration and the respect that he's given. That's like an extra slap in the face every single time you see this man on TV.
Yeah, it's true.
Again,
that's definitely true. If somebody's a victim, I can understand them not feeling confident coming forward with charges and accusations and different things like that. If he's an icon, which Cosby is, and he's on TV every day and he's getting these accolades from the everyday citizens.
I mean, you got to think, he didn't just do the Cosby Show. You're talking back to Fat Albert. You're talking the electric company. There's so many things that he was involved with, even with children. And some of these women were very, very young, 17, 18, when these things happened to them. My girlfriend herself was like 20 when it happened to her, maybe 21. So it was definitely like an older person preying on younger women type of thing. And I don't know. I just think the whole sordid mess is what it is. And it's such a shame. Such a shame. And I'm sorry for these women that it took this long for it to come to light, truthfully. And it's hard for us as Americans. I watch Cosby Show reruns. I've never looked at him the same, though, because it's hard for us to separate a character from an actual human being. None of us know who he is as a human being. We only know what he's portrayed on TV. You know what I mean? These women that have had contact with him, they know what he's like as an actual human being.
Hey, well, listen, I appreciate you coming forward and telling us the story that you were told by your friend. Obviously, our listeners, you can make your own judgments or make your own decisions as far as what you think happened. I've always said that I think something went down with Cosby and these women. I don't know how many of them, and I don't know exactly what, but I know there was something that was, at least at least semi-inappropriate, if not more than semi. But, of course, I don't know for sure because I wasn't there.
Right. Thank God.
And at the same time, my partner Jay has said that he's not so sure, that he thinks that maybe Cosby is being vilified and crucified without just cause. So it really just depends on your perspective. I'm not telling anybody how to vote or how to think or which way to go.
Right.
This is just something to help you maybe open your eyes and, decide for yourself.
Right. I agree. So everybody else is going to form their own opinions. I just know that mine was formed back when she told me the story because of someone that I know, dearly, personally. She has no reason to make up a story like that. So
definitely. What's your name?
Shauna.
My name is Shauna.
Shauna, definitely appreciate you calling in. And
welcome,
to anybody listening to the JayNJay show again, look, we respect everybody's opinions. I do think with this Cosby situation, we're going to see a lot more going forward. I definitely don't think where we're at now is the pinnacle of anything. I think there's going to be some other stuff coming out. And I think what's coming out is going to be more talk. But you're going to see some bigger names, I think, at some point or another. Because whatever's going on with the situation,
I mean, there's already a couple of big names attached to it, but I think that you probably will see some more.
Well, I think the big names that you're seeing right now are sort of debunking themselves. And basically what it is, Janice Dickinson gave an interview the other day, Beverly Johnson gave an interview, and neither one of them sound credible. And I don't know if it's they were high during the interviews.
I disagree with Beverly Johnson. I agree that Janice Dickinson probably, but she's known to be that extremist. That's always been her personality. She's always been over the top. Everything
I listened to Beverly Johnson's interview, and even her shit is incredible.
That's who she is. But I disagree about Beverly Johnson not sounding credible. She doesn't have anything to gain.
Why would you call his wife thereafter, or if you called and his wife picked up the phone, why wouldn't you say anything? Like, to me, it just didn't even make sense. So there's different things here that just don't make sense. They don't add up. And what's really fucking it up for the so-called victims or the accusers in these situations is that everybody that comes out and talks against Bill Cosby They make no fucking sense. Like the lady that gave the Don Lemon interview, she made absolutely no sense. She admitted that she was high at the time and she didn't remember doing certain things, and she also said that Bill Cosby walked into a dressing room and just put his dick in her mouth. I mean, some of this stuff makes absolutely no sense at all. So it would help their circumstances.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. Some of the women don't sound credible, but, you know, like you said, somebody called in the white chick. He's never been in a victim standpoint. You don't know how to handle something like that.
Incoherent stories, which actually messes everything up. So when you talk about victims, it would make more sense to have the victims who have their stories together actually come out and give the interviews, as opposed to the junkies, the people that are high, the people whose stories aren't even well put together, the people who are just pissed off at Bill Cosby, the people who...
Well, I mean, and some of it, though, you got to think with the culture at the time. You know, Janice Dickinson says this happened in the 80s with her. You know, the culture at the time was drugs were free-flowing, and we didn't really know their effects like we do now. You know what I mean? Everybody was getting high in the 70s and 80s. It's just the way that it was. That's part of the culture back then. I don't think that you can disclude them because they said, oh, yeah, I was getting high. Everybody was doing that back then, especially in the entertainment industry. So it's not like, you know, these are women that are verified crackheads now coming forward and saying this. I mean, that's, you know, you made the statement. That's just again, an opinion.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Drugs were definitely free-flowing in the 80s. But again, when you're talking about accusers coming forward now, it would do their cause a lot of justice to actually have people come out who can do an interview.
Back then. There were women who've been saying this for 20
You're going to get out here and
30
talk,
years.
There are
women who were paid off.
Free flow,
to
say what it is you have to say, give your opinions, give your thoughts, recount the story as best you can, but be articulate. Speak with some continuity. Actually put your words together. I don't know if you watched that Janice Dickinson interview, but basically everybody that has come forward so far is near that level of not making any fucking sense. So if we can have some accusers actually come forward that makes sense.
It was a Janice Dickinson interview, but I saw the one that I was watching was the one with Beverly Johnson, and I felt like she was composed, and I felt like she did put it together correctly. She was articulate. She did speak clearly, you know, and this is not the first time that she stated that this has happened. It's just, you know, a lot of it is pushed under the rug, and when somebody's got money and somebody's got power, you know.
She was coherent and she was articulate, but it was the story itself that didn't make any sense. It was just like the other accuser that was on Don Lemon. She was well-spoken and articulate, but the story itself made no sense, at least from my
that's your opinion. That's an opinion formed by someone that's never been a victim of anything like that.
Yeah, it's my opinion. I'm giving my opinion. What I'm saying is, it would do them all a lot more justice if, number one, their stories made sense, and if they could present them well. I mean, that's with anybody doing anything. But, again, you know, Janice Dickinson, I don't want to act like the interview she gave on Nancy Grace is sort of the end-all, be-all with this thing. Because I think that as time goes along, you're going to have more people come forward, or you're going to have old people come back and actually have their shit together and have a story that makes sense. I think they're going to get some more coaching and some more counseling and stuff like that. The attorneys are going to sit down with them and go over a script or something, and they're going to come out a lot stronger, which is not good for Bill. But I think what he's doing right is not speaking. And I was actually of the opinion before that he needs to get out and actually say something. But the fact now that he's not saying anything makes a lot of sense. Because, again, number one, he's not tying himself into any statement or story. And two, he's not putting himself in a position where people can come back and ask for more and more and more. Because I feel like if he gives one interview, they're going to want more. They're going to feel like, oh, he didn't say enough, or somebody didn't ask all the right questions. Can we get another interview?
Yeah, but
or from a different standpoint, maybe he sees an avalanche that he can't get out from underneath, so his best bet is just to stay quiet.
Well, I was going to say that, so I'm thinking both of your opinions could be true, but I have a third one, and that is that if he gives, because right now he's not saying anything, and people are still saying that. Okay, how come Bill ain't talking? How come Bill ain't? So even if he gives one interview and it says no more, at least he's saying something. So even if they say, okay, well, you didn't say enough, you didn't say, well, right now he ain't saying shit. So they're already saying, you know, you ain't saying enough because you ain't saying nothing. So if he gets on with somebody who is credible and they give them a list of questions and say, you know what, you can ask these questions, you can't ask these questions, and that's it, and Bill answers them as he's coached to do, then nobody will be able to say that he didn't say anything. But he can also then say later, you know what, I don't have to give 20,000 interviews. I've given one. I've said what I had to say. You can
you know I like George Bush? I mean, I couldn't stand him as the fucking president, but what I did like about him is whenever they asked him about his cocaine use, he always said, look, I'm not going to talk about that. But everybody knows that George Bush was a cokehead back in the day. But whenever they asked him in interviews, he was like, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. Bill Cosby is doing the exact same thing. He's released statements to his attorney. Now, his attorneys are pit bulls, and they're taking this shit on head like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
But he himself is not going to make a statement. Again, because, number one, it's not going to do anything but make people clamor for more.
Yeah.
And then two, he can get up there and be in the middle of an interview, misspeak, and whatever he says wrong be held against him forever. It's best that he just doesn't speak and let it flow and let people keep coming out because, quite frankly, the statute of limitations has been reached in all this bullshit.
Okay. That may be the case, but that doesn't make him any less guilty. His silence does not mean that he's innocent. It means he's smart.
No, it doesn't. And it doesn't make him more guilty. It just says, look, I ain't got anything to say. Y'all think what you want to think. I mean, everybody on his phone has been accused.
I mean, at this point, he's at the end of his life, and the only person he's got to deal with is the great man upstairs who knows the truth either way.
Hey, I'll tell you this, man. I actually agree that it's smarter not to say anything for his own well-being and shit like that. And so I think it's me pretty much just personally, I really want to hear what this motherfucker has to say. And I think he knows it about most of us. Most of us want to hear what he has to say. But
I wanted to hear what he had to say. And to be honest, I still want to hear what he has to say. But I understand why he wouldn't do it. It just doesn't make sense from any standpoint.
Hey, look,
as far as his
Bill, listen, I'm going to tell you right here from the fucking JayNJay show. If you actually want a news media outlet that will be unbiased and let your motherfucking ass talk, actually, I'll change that, and let you talk, then please come on the JayNJay show, Power 100, and be as honest as you possibly can. And we ain't gonna let nobody railroad you. We ain't gonna let nobody call you up, talk a whole bunch of shit. We just want to hear what you actually have to say. Now, I'm sure you'll ignore this invitation, but look, the invitation is out there. JayNJay show.
Because it will get to him somewhere or another.
I wish you guys the best of luck. Hopefully you get that interview. And thanks for having me on the show, you guys.
Okay, well, we got Cherry Johnson. We can get anybody.
Right. You guys have a good night.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks for calling in.
Bye.